But do you really literally mean that if you are in business, you have to be willing to fire your mom?
You know, it's true, you do. Because in the end, when you create a business and you start one, many entrepreneurs in this audience will understand this comment, your allegiance has to be to the business first. Because without that, all the good things that you want to do are going to fail. And so, as your business grows and you make decisions about individual people, you can't let your emotion get in the way of what you really need to do, which is to drive success of the business. And so, the minute you get your first customer, you now become number 2. The minute you get your first investor, now you're number 3. The minute you hire your second employee, you're number 4. It's still your business, but now you know who you have to serve. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that fail don't understand that you're always serving someone. A shareholder, a customer, the business. And if you lose sight of that by letting your emotions get in the way, and this often happens, certainly happened to me in early days, many people hire their friends. They start a company with their friend or with their brother.
Good way to end a friendship.
Or it's a family business. And very often, nepotism is what kills the golden goose. Because very often the better manager is not your sister, brother, uncle, cousin, whatever. And I live through this all the time in the companies that I'm an investor in. I have 32 portfolio companies now. I watch this happen every day. And I don't let emotion get in the way of the true pursuit of what matters, the success of the business.
Whether it's your mother or not, let's take it away from the idea of firing your mother, but just because it sort of is a conversational thread that I could pick up on. You've had to fire people. How do you do it? I'm sure people here, it is the thing they probably dread doing the most.
Yes. And
how do you do it fairly without inflicting undue hurt?
The key to ending a relationship is to explain to the person that you're doing it to why it's happening. Because they won't learn anything from it unless you do that. And in my companies, particularly ones where I have a control position, I do that myself. It's the hardest thing to do. I'll make 2 comments about it, and I see this happen with weak managers all the time. The moment you realize that that person isn't right for the job is the time to take them out of it. Because it's not fair to them. It's not about you. It's not fair to them and the people they're working with and the team that they're part of. The biggest challenge, and I generally find this at sort of the $10 million sales rule, many people have to change in going from 10 to 25 million in sales. It's the natural Darwinian forces of business. And if you don't have the balls to make those cuts and you can't deal with it, you're the wrong leader.
In other words, the skills that it takes to go from 0 to 10 million are very different from the skills it takes to go from 10 million to 25, from 25 to...
After decades of investing in companies that go through those transitions, it's extremely difficult and it takes different skill sets. And you have to be able to, work with people. The key is, you don't want bad karma in business. When I terminate somebody, I make sure they get a fantastic package. I make sure they get counseling. I make sure that we do everything we can to find them another job, just not with us, because they're the wrong person.
Take me back to someone you fired that comes to mind. How did you know they weren't the right person for the job? What was the telltale? Or what are some of the telltales that you have seen over your years that tell you this person isn't right, I have to let her or him go?
That's a good question, and I'll answer it with an analogy of fact. I carry 2 phones with me. This small one is only known by my family and very, very close friends. And when it rings, I'll always answer it because it has to do with something going on with my kids or my family or my brother or whatever. This phone, this larger one, probably 10,000 people have this number. I'm a believer that if you are an entrepreneur or a major shareholder of a company, every single customer should know if they have a problem who they can call. And when I say this, this concept of access. In other words, many managers think, well, you know, if I give my number out to my employees, they may call me. and the truth is, you want to hear from them. You want to hear the bad news first. But what I found is the more people I give this number to, the less it rings. I tell them simply, look, I want you to have this access because I respect you, and I want you to know that you can come to me. And in that trust, I find that most people never use it. This thing does not ring as much as my family phone does. But when it rings, it's a big deal. And the reason I know it's time to terminate somebody in one of my companies is when my customers and my shareholders call me 3 times about that person. It's always the same.